Welcome back, you pugnacious pummelers. I'm Lupinefiasco, this is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing Jarl Vetreidi. For anyone who's new to the channel, what we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago. After enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, explaining my thought processes for the lines I would take and comparing them to the lines I did take. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. I have a Blue Sky, I have a Discord, and I have a Patreon where you can find the matchup guide for this deck list. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the action. This is our first gameplay review with my second iteration of the Jarl deck post-Decompose, and wouldn't you know it, we're playing against our old flame, Aurora, Shooting Star. We have won the die roll and chosen to go second. In the Guardian aggro matchup, going second generally means the same thing as in the aggro mirror, where you get to spend your opening turn blocking out and get to present the first piece of damage on turn 2, which for Guardian is particularly important because our damage is usually tied to disruption. So our opening hand here is pretty good for blocking out. It also is good because we have two forms of disruption. In this case, Spinal Crush and CNC. I do agree with blocking with CNC for two reasons. One being that Aurora is presenting Crown of Providence, and while yes, there is some advantage to sending Command and Conquer on turn 2, especially if she blocks with Crown of Providence on turn 2, that just means our hero is now online and generating Frostbites. But Jarl is not as resilient to aggro decks as you might like to believe he is. Oldhim back in the day had his ice reaction that turned your 2-block ice blues into a full card's worth of value, especially against decks with exponential value. That was very strong. Jarl does not have that same capability. So if we let Aurora keep 5 cards, especially here where she's playing Gone in a Flash, she can pitch 1 or 2 cards to make an Embodiment of Lightning and then have 5 cards and Embodiment on her next turn. We could be in some serious trouble. So rather than save the Command and Conquer and try to attack with that, I like attacking with Spinal Crush instead. We are taking extra damage here by blocking 3 on 4, especially if Aurora has something like a Lightning Press. But I want to make sure that I can play my Spinal Crush while also arsenaling something, and if we draw a red, then we could think about arsenaling that red. If we draw a blue, then we can pitch that an Autumn's Touch to Spinal Crush and arsenal Hypothermia. Either way, I'm fine taking 1 point of damage to make sure I get to do something impactful on my turn. Drawing the Icequake here is even better. Let's just fire off both cards, use our entire hand to send Spinal Crush for 12 with an on-hit Frostbite. The Spinal Crush is going to make sure that Embodiment of Lightning does nothing. There definitely was an argument for saving the Icequake at the same time. Aurora can block with 2 3-blocks from hand or a 3-block Grasp and Lightning Greaves to cover up the crush effect of Spinal Crush. I am really interested in making sure the crush happens. So in this case, maybe Aurora gives us her entire hand if she can block well enough. She might get caught with an instant and have to take some damage and not really be able to convert her hand. She could wind up in a situation where she keeps a Lightning Press or an Electrostatic Discharge and just plays that. And a 4-power attack from Arsenal. We are, of course, hitting her with the Icequake, so she would need a blue to make that happen, which just kind of does nothing. We see some sizzle out of her. She might have a line, but it is likely that she does not. And the hand that we draw into is not bad. Here we get an easy channeling Frigid, pitching Crumble to Eternity, and then can pitch Fruit to the Forest to attack with Titan's Fist for 4, and Arsenal a Blizzard, which just lets us kind of sustain through whatever she might have lined up. Notably, the Blizzard will turn off the embodiment of lightning, so we are good on go again regardless. Of course, pitching Fruits means that the Titan's Fist attacks for 4. If we were to pitch the Blizzard, it would only attack for 3. And we will bottom our Crumble to the Channel Lake Frigid. The hand we draw into is somewhat unfortunate in that it does not attack. We can pitch our Frozen to Death to attack with Titan's Fist for 4. But overall, this Electrostatic Discharge means that we are going to need to... we want to block, and we're probably going to take some damage. We can Blizzard here. That will take away the go again from the embodiment of lightning. We can sink below. The Entwine Lightning will take 3 points of damage. On our turn, we can play Winter's Bite and then pitch Frozen to Death to attack with Titan's Fist. Or we could pitch Winter's Bite and Frozen to Death to attack with Titan's Fist. Either way, the Fist attacks for 4, but if we pitch Winter's Bite, we get to keep channeling Frigid. So I think that is what I want to do here. Let's play our Blizzard from hand. We can keep the one in our arsenal. The reason being that I do want to sink. If I... Well, it doesn't super matter. If I play the Blizzard from arsenal and then sink from hand, I just won't use the sink effect. There are a ton of blues in my deck that I don't really want to draw here. The reason being that our hand already functions really well. We get to turn off the go again from Entwine. We get to block 4 with our sink below, take 3, go to 36. We get to Titan's Fist for 4 and keep channeling Frigid around. The channeling Frigid, of course, putting in a ton of work. We'll sink below. I would like to sink nothing. Let's see if I agree. I do not. We get to pick up a Mangle, which is kind of not bad, but is also not great. Let's just rewind real quick and talk about the decision not to Blizzard here. So we're kind of risking it. Our Aurora has 1 resource floating. She does not currently have Frostbite. We do have Channel Lake Frigid. So she either gets to play an attack. She could play a 0 for 4 here and use the floating resource. Or she can just end the turn. If she does play the attack, we are able to block it, particularly with this Mangle that we just drew. And maybe use a piece of equipment if the 0 for 4 happens to be Snatch. But I also kind of don't like this just because this Mangle messes up our turn. We were already okay with pitching Winter's Bite and Frozen to Death to attack with Titan's Fist. What we can do instead is use Winter's Bite and Frozen to Death to attack with Mangle. But that just kind of isn't good. I would have rather played the Blizzard to make sure that our Aurora does not get to play this card from hand, and then still have something to do with my Winter's Bite and Frozen to Death. Now we're just in a weird spot where we have to make a decision of how we're going to use this hand. We can play the Mangle, pitch the 2 ice cards. This is what we're going to do. It's just 8. In hindsight, I guess what I'm saying is, in hindsight, this play worked really well. But if this Mangle is, let's say, another copy of Frozen to Death, or let's say it is Imposing Visage, we're just in kind of a weird spot where we aren't able to convert these 3 cards very well and also keep our Channel Lake Frigid around. And had we not sank the Blizzard and just played it, then we are guaranteed to be able to use our entire hand, attack for 4 with Titan's Fist, and keep our Channel Lake Frigid. just seemed like an unnecessary risk in a matchup where we are already very favored, at least judging by the board state, us having Channel Lake Frigid, Stalagmite still has full value, we have a Blizzard in Arsenal, we are just waiting for Pummels, Oakenolds. I don't feel like we need to take risks to get further ahead when we are already ahead. So we just have so many fail cases in our deck that I don't love taking the risk. At least that's the way I see it. Hindsight's 2020, obviously this play worked out very well. We get to send a 3-card 8 rather than a 3-card 4. Mangle does not have an on-hit, it's totally fine. The hand we draw into is a little unfortunate here as well. We do get to keep a Channel Lake Frigid around, or rather get to play a new Channel Lake Frigid if we wanted to. The unfortunate thing about this is that we cannot attack with Titan's Fist for 4. Despite having 4 blues in hand, none of them cost 3 or more. So we can just think a little about what we want to do with this hand. Our Channel Lake Frigid in hand will take an ice card from our pitch. We cannot double Channel Lake here. I don't know that that would even be good if we took that option. But we could not say pitch Winter's Bite, play Channel Lake Frigid, pitch Channel Mount Ison to our Gauntlets of Boreal Domain, and then pitch Crumble to attack with Titan's Fist. That puts 3 ice cards into our pitch, and our current Channel Lake Frigid is going to ask for 3 ice cards, so we cannot double Channel Lake, despite that being very cool. So what we may want to do instead is just block for 6 with Channel Lake Frigid and Channel Mount Ison. We could then play Winter's Bite, which gets a card from Aurora. Our current Channel Lake will still be on the board, so Aurora cannot use her Fiandal Spring Tunic without pitching to pay for it. And then we pitch Crumble and attack with Titan's Fist for 3. I don't really see a better way to use this hand unless we wanted to use our Crown of Providence and try to sink our Blizzard into something better. That isn't a bad line. We could block with Crown and Channel Mount Ison, crown the Blizzard into something else. If we do draw a red card, we get to play that. If we draw a 3-cost blue, we can attack with Titan's Fist. And then we still have our Crumble, Winter's Bite, and Channel Lake Frigid that we can either attempt to use to keep our current Channel Lake around, or we could play Winter's Bite, pitch Crumble, play Channel Lake Frigid, and then pitch the other blue to attack with Titan's Fist. So I think that is a pretty good line. I like blocking with Crown and Channel Mount Ison here, and just trying to turn our Blizzard into something better. We are ahead on tempo. I would like to stay ahead on tempo. Blizzard is a very reactive card, and I don't feel like we need it here. We can use our Crown and just try to turn Blizzard into a playable red, or at least a 3-cost blue. Our other line, I think, would just be blocking for 6 with Channel Mount Ison and Crumble to Eternity, and then playing Channel Lake Frigid by pitching Winter's Bite and just continuing to stall, waiting for an Oakenold that we can fuse, or CNC Pummel, Frostfang Pummel. We still have plenty of gas left in the deck. I don't like blocking with Crumble here, just because it is an Earth card. If we crown this Blizzard into an Oakenold, then we just would have rather had Crumble. I don't see us getting to a point in the game where we are trying to win with Channel Mount Ison. We're not going to go to fatigue. This game is going to end because of damage. Thinking about what we want to do here, I believe because we did draw a 3-cost blue, the line is just going to be Winter's Bite, play Channel Lake Frigid, pitch Channel Mount Ison, pitch Fruits to Titan's Fist for 4. We continue to stall out the game, let Aurora continue to send these very suboptimal turns, and all the while we are pushing 4 points of damage with Titan's Fist. It will take 6 attacks with Titan's Fist to put Aurora into lethal, such that she has to start blocking. But, as I've been saying, we still have plenty of gas left in the tank. It's entirely possible that we will start drawing into our double fuse Oakenolds or CNC Pummels that are really going to accelerate that damage and accelerate that remaining clock for Aurora. And so if we are able to just whittle her down with the Titan's Fist, then we are advancing our game position. We're advancing our board state such that we can start to kill her with these big, dominated, or pummeled attacks. Aurora giving us the E-Strike, notoriously bad card under Channeling Frigid. Here we draw into Icequake and Frostfang, which we can use either of our blues to pay for. We don't need to block this Snatch because Aurora already has an arsenal. It could be that the arsenal is a Lightning Press and now we do care about the Snatch hitting, but I don't feel like I need to block any differently based on that possibility. I don't need to cover 4 or 7. I can just block this with Autumn's Touch, then pitch Frozen to Death to play Icequake Frostfang. The idea being that I don't particularly care about either of these blues. I don't want to save one of them to Arsenal because I pretty much never want to attack with Autumn's Touch. I never want that to be my turn. And while Frozen to Death is strong, Aurora does not have any -1 counters on any of her equipment. So I'm not going to play the Frostfang anytime soon, and if I put it into my arsenal without playing it, then it just kind of just rot there and potentially takes that arsenal spot from a Pummel or an Oaken Old. So we will just block 3, giving Aurora the opportunity to play an instant from Arsenal, and then Arsenal this new card so that she avoids the intellect penalty. That isn't what happened. She just does just take an intellect penalty. Choosing instead to keep the Channel Lake Frigid around. I don't necessarily love this play, but it is something interesting to think about. So we keep our CLF, we arsenal a Frostfang. Me checking my discard earlier was confirming that we have not played a Pummel. Our Fandal Spring Tunic is up, so if we draw a blue and a Pummel, we can Frostfang Pummel on our next turn. And pitching these 2 blues just says that we keep that possibility alive with Channeling Frigid, slowing Aurora down. We still have Stalagmite to do the same thing. Titan's Fist potentially gets cards away from Aurora. But in general, I don't think that this is us keeping tempo. I think that this is us kind of falling into a lax position. If I was going to hold onto this Frostfang to try to pummel it, I would like to have used my Spring Tunic to play the Icequake and then pitch Frozen to Death to Titan's Fist for 7 with Frostbite on hit. This just seems worse. That line I took seems very passive, and I don't love being passive in this position. I am ahead. I want to stay ahead. I want to continue to put pressure on Aurora with my on-hits. Here, going ahead and pitching into the Arc Lightning, that is a mistake because of the fact that we have Blizzard. Blizzard here is going to take Go Again away from the Snatch. It's possible that Aurora has another blue in hand that she can use to pay for the Blizzard cost. But if she doesn't, if she has more reds, then we didn't have to pitch to the Arcane Barrier. Also, we're at 30. I mean, what are we trying to do here? We would like to play Winter's Bite, pitch Frozen to Death to attack with Frostfang, and then arsenal the Cold Snap, and on my next turn I can use Tunic to turn Cold Snap into Arsenal Disruption plus a new card for my hand. So pitching it here to Arcane Barrier just seems bad, and if Aurora was going to play a Channel Lightning Valley, she would have had to do so before the damage resolved. So pitching the Cold Snap here is just a mistake, especially considering that we are going to Blizzard this Snatch. What we can do instead now is just Winter's Bite, probably Titan's Fist. This is a situation where I don't mind holding on to the Frostfang rather than trying to push tempo, because we we're going to get a card from Aurora. Here I do want to block with Stalagmite and Gauntlet, just so that Aurora doesn't get an arsenal. It is unfortunately a waste of the Frostbite from Stalagmite, but it keeps her on 4 cards. We are going to put her down to 3 cards with our Winter's Bite, and then just continuing to whittle away with the Titan's Fist. So this is a situation where I am happy to lose value, but where I'm not happy is having pitched that Cold Snap. I would much, much, much rather be at 29 here with a card in hand, rather than be at 30 and not have anything to, either not have anything to arsenal or having fewer options for how I play out the rest of my turn. Right, the Winter's Bite here is good. We put Aurora on 3 cards. Titan's Fist for 4 is good. Putting Aurora into a position where she could easily just be dead to CNC Pummel or Oakenold Pummel. Either of those put her into the range where a single Titan's Fist is lethal. But I would have preferred to play the Frostfang here and then arsenal the Cold Snap and just be able to turn my Tunic into a new card and stay far enough ahead of Aurora. Aurora gets to play her first turn in a long time without being under Channeling Frigid, so this could potentially be a good situation for her. Let's just think about how we want to use our hand. We've got this Cold Snap and we have a Frostfang. So Cold Snap, Frostfang, while we don't draw a card from Cold Snap from hand, we do potentially give Aurora the opportunity to get locked out of a card in Arsenal, depending on whether she uses her Tunic or not. We can then Arsenal our Oakenold, and that means that I'm looking to block with one of these 2 blues, either Imposing Visage or Glacial Footsteps. We could also pitch our Cold Snap to play Imposing Visage, find a Hypothermia, which says that Aurora cannot gain Go Again on any of her attacks, including Starfall. We could pitch our Cold Snap and Glacial Footsteps into Imposing Visage. X equals 2. We find our 3rd copy of Channeling Frigid. With our Floating Resource and Tunic, we attack with Frostfang. For 5, on hit, pay 2 or discard, and then Arsenal Oakenold. We have a lot of options. We don't need to block this Flittering Charge. It already has Go Again. I'm a little less concerned that Aurora is going to play Channel Lightning Valley. Potentially she does. We haven't seen one yet. But I am willing to take that opportunity. Willing to take that risk. So we've got Ravenous Rabble here for 4 with Go Again. I like using Stalagmite because I am intending to... Well, let's think. So if we use Stalagmite and a 3-block to cover this, Aurora takes a Frostbite. She does have her Fandal Spring Tunic, so if she wanted to play a 0 for 4 from hand, using her Tunic would be able to pay through the Frostbite. The question is, do we value Aurora using her Tunic here? I think the answer is no. I think what I want to do with this is not block the Ravenous Rabble at all, take our 4 here, save my Stalagmite, or rather one of my 3 blocks for a potential snatch. And then if I don't have to block, if Aurora just passes her turn, I'm not going to play my Cold Snap because she does have Tunic, but I get to take my Imposing Visage line, pitching 5 to find Channeling Frigid, and then Frostfanging, Arsenaling Oakenold. The fact that Aurora has Tunic up to play around the Stalagmite here just seems bad, and if we're not blocking out completely, then there's no reason to do this because we get got by Snatch. Starfall for 2 says that I do want to use my Stalagmite here and give Aurora a Frostbite so that she has to arsenal this last card. And then I can pitch Glacial Footsteps to Cold Snap Frostfang. Exude Confidence says that I want to block with Glacial Footsteps and then just pitch Cold Snap to attack with Frostfang so I can arsenal Oakenold. Overall, I mean, this line doesn't make sense, right? We're going to pitch a blue to play Frostfang. So we should have just blocked for 3 instead of blocking for 2. That's just a very obvious mistake. If this was a different matchup where the game is going to go long enough that having blue Glacial Footsteps in deck matters, then that is a consideration, but overall that was just bad decision making. We should be at 22 here. Drawing into 2 defense reactions means that we want to use them relatively quickly because we know that Aurora has a Exude Confidence in hand. We can use our Oaken Old. We just either need to keep our entire hand or we need to use Spring Tunic to... If we were going to block with Sink Blow, we would need to use Spring Tunic and Frostfang Spinal Crush to play Oaken Old Double Fuse with Pulse, which is something I'm interested in doing. The question is, how are we blocking the Starfall? Do we care about potential channel Lightning Valley? I think we can afford to. We just want to slow Aurora down, which we will do with the Frostbite. Of course, maybe something to think about here is the fact that Aurora has Exude Confidence, which will be able to play through our D-reacts. So the way that we will then I was not expecting her to just end the turn, but that is smart for her with Embodiment of Lightning and Channel Lightning Valley. So here, because we did not need to block with a Sink Blow, we can use, we can just pitch 3 reds and save our Fandal Spring Tunic. I don't mind arsenaling Pulse of Ice and Loft. I don't see a reason to do this unless I just want to avoid putting 3 reds together, or if I want to keep a blue in hand, or keep an Ice Earth card for our next copy of Oaken Old. I think it would have been better to save the Spring Tunic. But what is nice about this, Aurora trying to keep a bigger hand, is that she's using Crown of Providence, which opens up that equipment slot so that our Pulse of Ice and Loft triggers Jarl, and Jarl gives Aurora a Frostbite. Defensive Frostbite, very strong. We will arsenal our Sink Below, keeping the blue, and arsenaling the red. And just keeping in mind, we know Aurora has a Exude Confidence. So based on what is in my hand, what I would like to do here, I can tell you, having played this game relatively recently, I have forgotten that Aurora has Exude Confidence. What I would like to do with this hand is block the Lightning Surge with Pulse of Ice and Loft, and I want to pitch my Winter's Bite to do it. The reason for that is my Pulse is going to make my Glacial Footsteps block 4. So what I'm expecting to happen here is that I block the Lightning Surge with Pulse of Ice and Loft. Aurora gets a Frostbite. Aurora pitches hopefully a red from hand to play Exude Confidence from Arsenal, and I get to block the Exude Confidence with Glacial Footsteps, which now blocks for 4 because of Pulse of Ice and Loft. On my turn, I pitch Fruits to attack with Titan's Fist for 4. That is what I would like to do here. I believe what I'm going to do instead is something very stupid, but I don't quite remember off the top of my head what that is. But there are 2 important things to know. The first being that Aurora has Exude Confidence in Arsenal. The second being that Pulse of Ice and Loft will give Aurora a Frostbite, which will make it much harder for her to play through the rest of her turn. Blocking with Glacial Footsteps and Fandal Spring Tunic is also stupid. I think giving up the Tunic here is not a terrible decision, because I'm not expecting the game to go long enough that Tunic is going to matter. But we just definitely should have blocked with Pulse of Ice and Loft. It would have put Aurora into a position where, because she has a blue, she can afford to Starfall Exude Confidence, and we would have to do more blocking, but she would not be able to Aurora, which she can do here. Even if we play Pulse now to cover up the Starfall, Aurora could use these 2 floating resources to make another Embodiment of Lightning, and then just pass her turn with the Exude Confidence in Arsenal. Because what we need to do instead is we're going to have to because we have forgotten that Aurora has Exude Confidence, I'll block this with Winter's Bite, intending to play Sink Below on Aurora's Arsenal attack, pitch Fruits to attack with Titan's Fist for 4, and then Arsenal Pulse. But what's going to happen instead is I'm going to block with Winter's Bite, and then take damage from the Exude Confidence, and probably just IP myself. Gain 2 from Fruits, pitch Pulse to attack with Titan's Fist for 3, and then just be sad. Like, this was a poorly played turn because I forgot about the Exude Confidence, but had I remembered the Exude, we would have been able to block out everything and prevent Aurora from drawing a card, and also have a Titan's Fist on the crackback. So here I've forgotten that I cannot play defense reactions against Exude Confidence. If I had wanted to prevent the damage, I should have pitched my Pulse so that I could pitch Fruits to attack with Titan's Fist for 4. I believe that I will be allowed to do that, but yes, we easily could have played around the Exude Confidence had I just remembered it was there. And that is the danger of playing too quickly, is you just forget what your opponent has available. We're still in a great position in this game, right? We get to Titan's Fist for 4. We are still sitting on a Sink Below. Yes, our Aurora has 5 cards, but we have defensive capability left in our deck. It is unlikely that Aurora can just kill us from 17. So I'm not overly concerned about our position here, but we did give up a pretty substantial lead on that last turn. If we had more life and Aurora did not have an arsenal here, I'd feel much better about my position. We draw into an Oakenold, which unfortunately we cannot fuse. Here we are going to take damage from the burn up. We want to be able to play defense to prevent the burn up from triggering. I don't mind you, well, let's think. There are a few things to think about here. So, Aurora has 5 cards with Tunic to pay for Starfall. Is it likely that we can prevent the burn-up damage? No. Aurora gets probably 5 attacks on this turn, and we could potentially cover all of them, but 2 of them would need to attack for 3, which is unlikely. So let's just take the damage. We can just take our 6 here, go to 10, and still have a pretty defensive turn lined up. What we can do is block with 2 Sink Belows. We can get full value out of them and start to try to fix our hand. We can maybe sink a Pummel and try to find a double fuse card for Oakenold. We've got E-Strike here coming in for 5 with Go Again. That's good news for us. It is the lowest amount of value that E-Strike can have. If we play Sink from Arsenal, which I would like to do, and block 4 here, the question is, what are we sinking from hand? We have seen, I believe, 2 Crumbles and Pulse of Isenloft. It is unlikely that we would be able to find the 3rd Crumble that lets us double fuse Oakenold from hand. We could sink our Sink Below, but that doesn't seem like a great line considering that Aurora has 2 cards in her hand and we're expecting at least 1 more attack. We could sink our Oakenold and just try to draw into something better. We will pitch our Imposing Visage and attack with Titan's Fist for 4 if Aurora doesn't block it, or doesn't block it completely. Then if we turn Oakenold into a blue, we can pitch that blue to Pummel and just Titan's Fist for 8, and that's enough to win the game. So that's probably what I want to do here. I have the means to kill Aurora. I just need to find a way to pay for it. So I think sinking the Oakenold is good, especially knowing that Aurora somersaulted. So the follow-up here is either E-Strike for 5 draw or E-Strike for 7. Our second Sink Below is going to get value. I think sinking the Pummel was a mistake, just because what am I looking for now? I'm going to sink this Channel Mount Ison and try to find my other double fuse card. The 2 blues and a Pummel would have been enough to just end the game if Aurora blocks poorly, or if she overblocks, then great, we Arsenal Pummel and we keep a blue in hand. We've set this up poorly for us to get a sneaky win with the Pummel Titan's Fist. So we'll play the second Sink Below. What are we going to do with the cards in hand? Well, we can just Oakenold for 7, and Aurora gives us a card. We could also play Channel Mount Ison, give Aurora a Frostbite, Titan's Fist for 4, Arsenal Oakenold. We wouldn't get to keep the Channel Mount Ison around, but it at least did something. We play our Sink Below. What are we sinking? I think we can sink Channel Mount Ison and just try to find something else, maybe an Ice Quake, potentially another Pummel, which is probably not very good. I just don't know what we're doing with this Channel Mount Ison besides playing it, giving Aurora a Frostbite. We could play Imposing Visage, pitch Channel Mount Ison, find a Hypothermia, and hope that Aurora didn't draw instants. If she drew 4 attacks, then she has no way to give them go again, unless she breaks Lightning Greaves. There's just a lot of weird possibilities here. But I think sinking the Channel Mount Ison is okay. I mean, maybe we draw a Crumble and we're just the greatest Flesh and Blood player, or we draw Winter's Bite, which is great here. We get a card out of Aurora, we give her a Frostbite, and we will pitch Imposing Visage to Titan's Fist, potentially put her to 1, and Arsenal Oakenold, which if we manage to draw into a hand that fuses the Oakenold and we live, then we just win the game. If Aurora is at 1, Oakenold without the fuse still attacks for 7, and she has to give us at least 3 cards to not die. I think Titan's Fisting here is great rather than Oakenold, which takes a card from Aurora and doesn't kill her. Aurora giving us the Tunic, going down to 2. Opening up another equipment slot. If we were to draw into a Blizzard, we don't draw into the Blizzard, but we do draw into a blue and Crumble to Eternity. So we just need to stay alive. Aurora is on 4 cards, has to pay through a Frostbite, which means that she cannot Aurora and Starfall. It's good news for us. We have 2 3 blocks in hand, which is great news for us. We are effectively at 14. We can also block with Crumble or Cold Snap. We don't want to because we want to double fuse our Oakenold. But worst case, again, we're just Oakenolding for 7. Aurora is at 2. She has to give us at least 2 cards to survive, and possibly 3 if she only has 2 blocks. Maybe we get lucky and the Ravenous Rabble flips a blue. Close. We see a yellow. So we'll block the Rabble with our CNC. If we don't have to block anything else, then we'll just play Oakenold from hand. I mean, that's great too. Get to save an Oakenold and a Crumble to Eternity, so that we can just do it again if Aurora somehow manages to live through the turn. Aurora using Grasp. So we've got 1 Arcane coming in, followed by 4 with Go Again. If either source of damage connects, the second strike will have +1 power and Go Again. There's no Starfall follow-up. So Aurora is representing 9 damage right now, 4 from Entwine, 1 from the Rune Chant, 4 from second strike. We are effectively at 11, which means that we can take the Rune Chant damage, we can take the Entwine damage, and then we can put our Oakenold in front of the second strike and just kill her with double fused Oakenold. I don't know that blocking the Entwine Lightning or saving the block for second strike is correct. It's effectively the same play, but potentially not blocking the Entwine prompts Aurora to attack with the second strike, thinking that maybe we can't block and she can present lethal. If we were at 6 here, maybe Aurora doesn't send the second strike, and if double fuse Oakenold doesn't kill her, say that she draws something like Sigil of Solace, and blocks 3, then I would rather her not. I would rather be at a higher life total, or rather be at a lower life total with her having no arsenal, which is potentially what not blocking the Entwine prompts her to do. It's a weird situation where I don't think it matters most of the time, but maybe it does just in the sense of playing more optimally. Whatever the case, we do manage to squeak out a win. Double Fuse Oakenold is certainly very good. but we absolutely could have played that game tighter. The Exude Confidence turn that got through our 2 defense reactions was 100% a mistake on my part. That is just me forgetting that Aurora had an Exude Confidence, which I had seen 2 turns prior. That's just me not paying attention and is 100% something I can tighten up in the future. But after that, we do just have some simple decision making that we need to work on. Don't block a 4-power attack with a 2-block card when a 3-block card is just as good. That was another point of life we just gave up. Overall, I think I played this game pretty well, made some decent decision making. But for the most part, good game. A few things we can tighten up, a few things that we will tighten up, but we get the win against our girl Aurora, and we feel okay about it. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. There was a lot to take from this game, and if you did learn something, be sure to pummel that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free and helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon. Those links are in the video description below. Until the next time I see you on Daily FaB Gameplay, take care.